Hey Desert Life family, so let's talk about buying a house during a recession. Now, this may not sound like a good idea because of the fear that the value of the property may decline and situations can be dire, but it's actually one of the best times to buy because number one, competition is low, you're not competing with too many other buyers that will drive up that purchase price. Number two, the market is normally favorable for buyers during a recession, which means buyers have more negotiating power. And number three, prices are normally lower. I realize that these past few years have really been tough on buyers. First, there were so many buyers on the market that many of you had to put a halt to home ownership because it was just too competitive. Now, mortgage rates have made home ownership just way too expensive. Well, we have one of those two issues out of the way. That is, demand has decreased, so there really isn't any competition right now. So how do we tackle the interest rate issue? Well, let me ask you this. Have you really sat down and worked the numbers to see how much you truly can afford? One mistake that some home buyers make is letting the interest rate alone dictate the purchase. Now, what if you came across your dream home at the right price? Now, let me throw this in the mix. The average monthly sales price for single-family homes in the Phoenix market has dropped by about $25,000 since last month. So now let me rephrase that question. What if you come across your dream home at a lower price? Should the interest rate be the one and only factor for that decision? Now I'm going to answer that with this question. I'm going to answer that question with this statement. Marry the home and date the rate. You always have the option of refinancing at a lower rate when rates go down. Additionally, like I've said plenty of times in my other videos, because the market is favorable for buyers, and it will more than likely be so for a while, there are strategies to getting a lower interest rate. My point is, run the numbers to see if buying in a recession is the right move for you. Now, I've also said this in my other videos. Pay off or down your debt, have an emergency savings fund of at least 3 to 6 months, and stay within your budget when buying a house. I can't stress this enough, even more so because of the condition of our economy. Now, it is very well possible that things will get worse because of, regardless of the decision that the feds make, if they continue to raise rates or not, there will be some type of a domino effect. Quick disclaimer, this is my opinion. So with that being said, I believe that there will be even more buying opportunities within the next 6 to 12 months. Take a look at this. Now, if you tune in regularly, then you should be familiar with this chart. This chart shows what supply and demand looks like in the Phoenix market, and I'm keeping my promise to you by keeping my eyes on this chart. Now, the blue line is the supply index, and the red line is the demand index. When the supply and demand line overlap, that means we are in a balanced market. Now, right now, as you can see where it's highlighted green, supply and demand are about the same. Now, up to this point, demand has outpaced supply, which has caused home prices to increase. But when supply, the blue line, outpaces demand, we have more supply than demand, and this is when we can see prices fall. As I'm sure you're aware, we are in a bear market, and our economy is really fragile right now. The real estate market, which is cyclical, is in a corrective phase, but if things continue to move in the same direction, I believe we will indeed be in a deep recession, which may present some great buying opportunities. Now, I'm not saying the housing market will crash. It may or it may not. But when I think of how many people bought property in like 2008, 2010, and if they still had that property today, or maybe they sold it within these last few years, they're doing okay, or more than okay, with that equity. They bought property when no one else was buying, prices were extremely low, and they had a lot of negotiating power. That sounds like a good recipe for buying a house. And if this was you who bought a house back then, drop a comment below. I would love to hear your story. My point is that buying a house in a recession could be a lucrative move, and it could get you the home that you want. Just run the numbers to see if it makes sense for your finances. Now, if you have any questions about buying in the Phoenix area, see the link below so that we can chat. I'm Renee the Realtor. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.